Welcome guys to the 10th episode of United Talk, and in this one I have 4 stories that has caught my eye over the past week. And again, if you're new to the show, then this is the show where I'm going to talk about the internal news that's come out from the United camp, leaving all the transfer news and rumours to United Transfer Talk, and you can catch that video later on in the week. But let's get going with this video. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is to do with Wayne Rooney and his return to fitness last week, playing for United against Valerenga. As you know, the game ended 0-0 with Rooney. Didn't really have many chances to score. He showed little glimpses of his fitness and his continuing relationship with Danny Welbeck up front, and it was really weird to see all the Euro stars back into wearing a United shirt and playing for the first time, because last season the pre-season tour was faultless really, because everyone was there. There was no international tournament except for Chicharito, so meaning we had basically our whole squad at the pre-season tour, meaning that we had the everyone got up to pace from the day one. But this year is a bit more complicated due to the Euros and then the Olympics, so a lot of our senior players was away. Rooney, Nani, Giggs, Cleverley and De Gea were all away on international duty, so it was a lot of disruption. But however, it gave them a new kind of like youthful look to them, because a lot of the reserve team went out there, and so they gave them a chance. But we also saw the new players, Shinji, Kagawa and Nick Powell, and Rooney has come out in praising Shinji Kagawa this week, saying that Shinji's settled quite quickly, he's a talented player, he likes to get on the ball and keep it simple. So that's Rooney's first impression of Kagawa, and I think a lot of us all have been impressed by Kagawa by his first few performances during this pre-season tour. I know he didn't get his chance against Valerenga, but I think Alex was kind of like instructing Mike Creedon to save him for tonight's game against Barcelona. And I think it'll be interesting to see where he plays and whether Salek's going to do a diamond shape, if you like, with Kagawa either behind Rooney and Welbeck, or just behind Rooney or Welbeck. So it's going to be interesting in that aspect to see what kind of formation he plays tonight. But again, Rooney has backed himself to have a better season than he did last season. As you know, he had a great season last year, scoring 34 goals and at times really carried the team on his back. So Rooney is a very important player to us, and hopefully Wayne will continue his goal scoring record, because his goal scoring record is generally very good, but it has been patchy in the past few seasons. As you know, in the 2010-2011 season, or the year before that, he had a storm of a season. Then due to the disruption at the World Cup and the contract situation back then, he had a relatively poor season for his high standards, and then last year he came back strong again. So Rooney will be looking to provide more consistency for himself in terms of his goal scoring record, and he thinks that by having Kagawa and his quality behind the front men, he will offer more chances for himself and his striking partners. And I think that has been the view that has been expressed by a lot of United fans when we signed Kagawa, that Kagawa he will play that free role, just be linking up the midfield and attack, and that's the role he likes the best. So I don't think Salek's going to change a lot from that, and with his quality in there, I'm sure we'll create a lot more chances and hopefully get a few more goals. The pre-season performances so far hasn't produced a lot of goals. I think just 3 goals so far, and it's unlike last year. But again, it's a changing squad all the time. With, like I said, the first few legs of the tour, there was a lot of young players, and now the main squad is coming back together, and facing Barcelona tonight will be a tough challenge. But I think it's a challenge that they're all looking forward to, because on pre-season, fitness is paramount, and in order to do that, you need to give yourself a good run out, and there's no better teams to judge yourself in terms of fitness than Barcelona. Because of their passing game, you need to stay concentrated and their fitness will tell if they are fit enough, and if not, they probably have to work on that. Just 2 weeks away from the first game against Everton, so tonight will be an interesting game. But just to conclude this first story, Rooney really giving out high praise of Shinji Kagawa in his first few impressions of the Japanese playmaker, and so hopefully Kagawa will continue his impressive form from this preseason tour to the new season. What do you guys think of that story? Leave a comment below. And the second story I'm going to talk about is to do with Darren Fletcher. As you know, I talked about Darren Fletcher about 2-3 episodes ago, and saying how selects think there's a long way to go for Darren Fletcher to come back and play first team football, and we have received some good news this week, saying that from Craig Levin, the Scotland manager, saying that Darren Fletcher will be joining up to the Scotland international squad to train for them for a little while, and this kind of shows that Darren Fletcher is making a slow but steady comeback from his terrible illness. As you know, he had this bowel problem for around a year and a half. So it's been really restricted for Darren Fletcher in terms of his career, and it's been a stuttering start. As you know, at the kind of midway last season, he was playing a few games, and then the kind of problem reoccurred, so he was dropped out again. So Darren Fletcher, I'm sure that he's making good progress, and this is the first sign of it. But like I said again, it's going to be a long way for Darren Fletcher to come back into full fitness and return to the team week in, week out. He's a talented and a vital player that not a lot of people give him credit for, because now some of you guys are saying we need the midfield enforcers player sort of type, but Darren Fletcher, he's kind of the ultimate midfield general, if you like. He is a box-to-box player. Fitness is one of his best assets, and he will be bombing up and down that pitch, scoring some great goals as well. But he gets back, put his body on the line, and protect the goal with anything he's got. So Darren Fletcher, he's a very important player to the squad, and it's unfortunate that this has hit him when it has during his career, because Darren Fletcher, he's 27, 28 now, so he's about to come into his peak, and it's just very unfortunate for him to suffer this terrible illness at this stage. And Sir Alex has always spoke highly of Darren Fletcher, because he knows the value that Fletcher has towards a team, because when you're playing, say, a 4-5-1 formation, you can leave Fletcher as the anchor man, and he will do a job for you and always give you 100%. And a lot of fans have grown to like Darren Fletcher, because at first, he was this little scrawny little kid who played on the right wing and didn't offer much really in terms of attacking sense, but slowly he switched into the centre midfield and really made that role his own. So Darren Fletcher will be missed, no doubt about that, for the kind of imminent season. But hopefully Salex and Mike Phelan has said that they are hopeful that he might come back by the end of the year and push in early next year. So Darren Fletcher, it looks like he's in a good place right now, not fully recovered by any means, but he's making steady comeback from his illness, and hopefully we'll see Darren Fletcher putting on a United shirt very soon in the near future. And just at the meantime, I hope, and I'm sure a lot of you guys will join in saying that we hope that Darren Fletcher recovers, and hopefully he'll be back soon and help us to challenge for another title. So leave a comment below on that story, guys. And the third story I'm going to talk about is to do with Dimitar Berbatov. Reports coming out this week saying that he is on the verge of signing for Zenit St. Petersburg. As you know, Berbatov, again, last season was very disappointed by his kind of involvement within the squad, and it's understandable for a player of his standards. He is 31, so coming into the almost autumn years of his career, and he would have wanted to be involved a lot more than he did last season. 2 seasons ago, he was our top scorer and a Barclays Premier League Golden Boot winner, and so he would have been terribly disappointed that he wasn't involved more. But that just showed the kind of progress that Chicharito and especially Danny Welbeck made last season, that they kept his high quality player on the bench week in, week out. And Berbatov, he knows that he is coming to the, almost past his peak, but he still offers something, and he knows that he needs to play week in, week out before he retires. And so he has expressed his frustration to Sir Alex and the press, saying that he should be involved more. And a lot of you guys is in his case, because we all know how good Berbatov is on his day, when all his touches come off, all his shooting comes off, and he looks like the real deal. But on other occasions, he does look like he doesn't want to be there. But perhaps you could say that it's just his style. But a lot of fans will find him a bit frustrating, just to the lack of work rate that he has. But in his defence, that's Berbatov all the way been through his career, really. He's not a player that will run 100 yards back from the very front back to cover his left back. He's not that sort of player. Berbatov, he's almost playing walking football. He does something brilliant, and then just moves on straight away and just walk or jog there. In contrast, a player like Rooney, that's a player that a lot of fans kind of like love, because he gives his all. He wears his heart on his sleeve, if you like. And like I said, when there's a loose corner, Rooney will chase back, all the way from the corner flag all the way to our goal to get that ball, because Rooney's that sort of player. And there are different sort of players, and Berbatov is on the other scale of the spectrum, and some of you guys have to respect that. So Zenit St. Petersburg looks like they're going to move for Berbatov. I think the fee should be around £10 million. As you know, Sir Alex has reiterated that selling price tag, if you like, because earlier, Berbatov was linked to a move to PSG, etc., for £5 million or whatever. But Sir Alex has said that Berbatov, even though he is getting on a bit, he still has a lot of qualities to offer to another team, and he wouldn't sell him for less than 10 million. And Berbatov, he could still, if he doesn't go, I think he could still feature for us this season. As you know, he does have a very good goal scoring record against, supposedly weaker teams in the league. So Berbatov still has his part to play if he does stay, and if he's not, it's gonna be difficult to see where we're gonna get another striker from, apart from Robin van Persie maybe. But I'll talk about that story later on in the week. But for now, Berbatov, it looks like he might be going for around 10 million for to Zenit St. Petersburg. What do you guys think of that story? And leave a comment below on that one. And the last story I'm going to talk about is to do with the man Vidic. As you know, Vidic made his 8th month comeback against Valerenga on Sunday, and he looked pretty good, actually, in pretty good shape, winning a couple of balls in the air, as we are accustomed to Vidic. And all around, he had a solid game, to be fair, like on his first game back, and he looked like he's ready. But of course, he's not going to know the truth until he faces someone a lot better. And obviously, that Everton date is getting nearer and nearer. So it's going to be a tough test for Vidic when he does come back fit, hopefully, against Everton. But he's come out this week saying about how United will learn from last year's experience, and how he revealed his frustration to be sitting on the sideline, unable to help the team. As you know, he is the United captain at the moment, so Vidic would have found it very frustrating to watch the team and not unable to help the team when his presence and his experience would have been vital. And one game that a lot of you guys would probably say that he would have had an influence on would have been that Everton game, where we basically lost the title from that point towards the end, really. And Vidic would have been pivotal in that moment, but unfortunately it wasn't. But he has come out and say, we had some young players play a lot of games last season, and they all have learned a lot. We all learned. In Europe, we had so many success in recent years. We had 3 finals, a semi-final, so maybe we relaxed a bit last season. We were punished, and we can't allow that to happen again. We had a few injuries last season too. I hope everyone can stay fit this season, and I think that that opinion going to be shared by a lot of you guys, that in order to challenge for any trophy, you're going to need a healthy and fit squad. and without that, you're gonna struggle quite a bit, because to compete both in Europe and domestically, you need a very, very strong squad with really big depth in terms of quality to compete in both competitions. And so with the returning of Vidic and hopefully Darren Fletcher in not so near future, I think it's going to be quite an exciting season, because when Vidic come back, it's going to be like a new signing, if you like, because who else is out there that's better than Vidic? And so it's going to be interesting to see how he does. And like I said, might take him a few games to get into it, because being 8 months out is a very, very long time in the football sense, and he hasn't done anything since then apart from getting into the gym and going through rehab for his leg. So Vidic, it's going to be tough for him, I think, for the first few games to get a bit and shake off the rust, but he's a quality player and he's our leader, and hopefully he'll lead us to more glory this summer. So what do you guys think of that story? And leave a comment below, guys. So there you guys have it for another episode of United Talk. If you like this video, please rate, comment and subscribe to the channel for more content. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.